We've got some very huge news for XRP. I mean, I believe almost every single one of us knows this currency is going to be absolutely huge. And if you don't believe that, you're on the wrong channel. But let's take a look at exactly what was just announced. Ripple X announced this. We're excited to announce that the XLS30 AMM spec and the XLS39 Clawback spec have merged to the latest version of Ripple 1.12.0. XLS30 will bring a native automated market maker to the XRP ledger that integrates with the existing order book DEX to enable trading of digital assets in automated liquidity pools and enable developers to address a wider audience of DeFi stakeholders. In a second, I'll explain more about what all of that means, but I just want to quickly show you. Here's, for example, Amy Yoshikawa of Ripple, who points out just how excited the people over at Ripple are, as there's, for example, the co-creator of the XRP ledger, whom, by the way, is now officially following me. So a little clap should go out to Dusty BC here. I don't want to toot my own horn, but apparently we've got the CTO of Ripple following me. There we go. And he's a co-creator of the XP ledger, so I'm happy. Why? It's very superficial, I know, but these little things do get me excited for some reason. So, I made sure to give him $1 a month. I subscribed to him, and he basically said, one of my favorite XRP ledger features ever, explained in my keynote at the Apex Dev Summit, is now open for voting. XLS39 will enable the Clawback feature, a new lightweight addition to the Ripple 1.12.0 codebase. If adapted to the XRP Ledger mainnet, Clawback will provide an opt-in capability for newly issued assets to be clawed back via a trust line. Now this, depending on how you view it, is scary. We've talked before about how this balance between decentralized and viable in the real world is always a difficult line. To bring either feature to the XRP Ledger mainnet, these XLS specs must undergo the amendment process, which requires the validator community to largely agree with this proposal. Every server on the network independently tallies the votes of the validators it is configured to listen to as part of the consensus progress, and for a change like this to the XRP Ledger to go through, at least 80% of the validators must approve the amendment by updating their votes to yes. This minimum threshold must remain this way for at least 2 weeks, and if both conditions are met, the amendment proposal will be passed and a new XLS spec will become a live feature of the mainnet, as right now it is actually, or has been running on testnet for a little while. You can't actually interact with things so people can know what the new change would bring, right? But then it would come to mainnet, and this process must happen for each amendment. All members of the validator community are encouraged to review the code and all documents to make an informed decision. Review the latest amendments here. And so if you're interested in seeing what's changing for the XP Ledger, you can read a little bit into it right here. For example, you might ask, what are automated market makers? This concept is very well known in crypto. I'll explain a little bit more. This clawback feature, though, is very specific for the XRP Ledger. And as it states here, you can't read it perfectly, but I'll try to put it into perspective. They say that this is basically done for regulatory purposes, right? For regulatory purposes, some issuers must have the ability to recover issued tokens after they are distributed to accounts. So that would prevent, for example, some scams. That would also make sure that, well, if push comes to shove, in my opinion, right, the government could seize it because there's a kind of like a seize or clawback feature, seize feature in my opinion. But again, if we think about how the XRP Ledger could run everything, think about it from this perspective. Let's say we've got something running on the XRP Ledger that's not XRP specifically, or that is just, something that was created on there. I do believe that there is a world where some of these assets must have some functionality to be taken back. That does not mean that our main currency needs to have that feature, because again, I don't want my money to be seized basically, or at least for somebody to have the ability to. But the idea that some parts of the network can enable the feature or have it enabled once initiated, as in, as you make this asset, it has it from the get-go and cannot later be changed. So in instance that you can't have something, never have that feature, and all of a sudden, boom, it's got it, because that would be kind of scary. Anyway, for example, if an issuer were to discover that tokens were sent to an account sanctioned for illegal activity, the issuer could recover or claw back the funds. And again, you can only claw back issued tokens created by your account, so only what you make. If you are a company making something, you can have that feature on. You cannot claw back XRP in this type of way, which is why you shouldn't be against this feature straight at the bat. No clawbacks ever, because I can also think of a lot of instances where clawing back has to be a feature for regulatory purposes, but also if the XP ledger wants to encompass everything. And talking about automated market makers, this is a concept you will not need too often unless you're into the DeFi realm. But the idea is simply, okay, after trying to explain it myself, I think it's better if we just read it because they probably thought about how to explain it better than I did. An automated market maker is a protocol for the decentralized exchange that prices assets through an algorithm rather than using an order book like a traditional exchange would. Automated market makers allow you to trade at a certain exchange rate on a DEX without having to find a counterparty. Instead of having to find a neighbor who is willing to trade your dollars for a euro or go to the airport currency exchange counter, the automated market maker allows you to exchange tokens freely. AMMs allow people to trade tokens peer-to-peer through liquidity pools, which again allows for there to be yield on top of the XRP ledger, which are token reserves secured by a smart contract. The more tokens available for trade, the lower the exchange fee to swap between the tokens. And it's basically like if you've ever seen LP tokens, liquidity provider tokens, you've ever heard the concept of decentralized finance, DeFi, very often it's a situation of you are getting a reward for providing something. Very often this is liquidity, and liquidity is a simple name for money or sometimes options. But let's say like this. Let's say we've got a pool that has 1,000 XRP and then 500 US dollars. Well, then the moment that somebody were to step in and wants to buy a lot of XRP, he just took 500 XRP from the pool and then took 1,000 XRP from the pool and then deposited $500. That would mean the pool now has 0 XRP in there and $1,000. So the pool would not really be balanced. So you want to have as much on both sides of these. And so they're basically rewarding you for participating and providing XRP and the dollar to make sure that people can freely swap in that pool. That's also where the concept of impermanent loss comes in, where you might lose out on money because the price of the asset changed a lot, and so the pool ratio is different, yada, yada, yada. But the idea behind this is huge because this allows for so much more money. Guys, it's going to be insane how much money could flow to the XP ledger because people now want to make money, which has two sides. David Swartz, the co-creator of the XP ledger, is excited because of the new functionality that it brings, the new audience it could bring, and the fact that it's a massive upgrade from what it's currently got from almost any perspective. Negative side is like with Ethereum, you might have people getting on there for the wrong reason nowadays. You're going to see a lot more possibilities for issues, so to speak. But after reading a lot from developers, and guys, as you know, there's been a really huge conference in Amsterdam right now for XRP Ledger. I've been hearing a lot about it. One of the things I noticed is it's really, really hard to be against some of the ideas that David Swartz, the co-founder of the XP Ledger, co-creator, and CTO at Ripple, thinks of and agrees with, right? This man could have been Satoshi, so to speak. Some people have said that before. But I cannot bring up an argument that's better than this guy's arguments, right? Just sometimes you got to know your level. These guys have built something that's going to last throughout the ages. And I really see it like this. If this guy thought it was a really smart freaking idea, I'm not going to be against it because he probably knows more about code and about market movements than I do because he created the motherfreaking XRP and the XP Ledger. So I'll just be a little bit of a dog here and accept whatever they throw at us because most likely it's going to be absolutely huge. And I honestly believe in their master plan. But yeah, I'm just very excited. Some new cool things are coming to the XP Ledger. Not officially yet. Of course, things have to be voted upon, but I do believe this will go through. And by the way, this whole amendment section, honestly, you're not going to need this too often in your life, but it is something fun to sometimes look into. You could just see what different choices are being proposed and how many people agree or disagree with it. It's just something you might want to check out for yourself for once, just to see what they're changing about the XRP Ledger and just how much is always ongoing. As right now, again, Clawback and AMM are in there. They've got 0 voters, though nobody stepped in just quite yet. And here you can also kind of see who exactly is in on that voting side of things. But yeah, that was it for this little update. Just pretty cool for the XP Ledger, and that's about it.